Hi, I'm Anna, and you're watching Thoughts Key. Have you ever watched a woman reject you, and then weeks later, out of nowhere, she reappears like she never slammed the door in your face? Here's the disturbing truth. A lot of women don't feel the weight of rejecting you while you're still available, while you're still trying, while you're still offering your attention like a constant supply. In her mind, the rejection is a move, a position, a power shift, and power feels good until the silence makes it real. Because when you're still there, she doesn't have to face the loss. She can keep the comfort without the responsibility. She can keep you emotionally nearby while telling herself she chose what's best. Then one day you stop. You don't argue. You don't negotiate. You don't chase. And that's when the decision she made finally has consequences. Reason 1. She wanted to feel the loss first. Rejection can feel powerful in the moment. It's control. It's her proving to herself she can walk away. It's her proving she's not the one who needs you. But that high fades fast when the world gets quiet and your attention isn't waiting for her anymore. She didn't miss you while you were pursuing because you felt guaranteed. You felt like a door that never locks, a light that's always on. And people don't value what they believe will still be there after they've been careless. The loss hits later, when she reaches for the familiar comfort and finds nothing to grab. That's when the replay starts. Not when you were trying to fix it, when you stopped trying. She starts replaying moments she dismissed. The way you looked at her, the way you stayed calm, the way you made her feel wanted without begging. The memory becomes sharper because the access is gone, and the darker truth is simple. She only values what she can actually lose. You can hear it in how she comes back. It's rarely soft. It's rarely humble. It's not, "I'm sorry." It's a message that tests the water. Something casual. Something that lets her pretend she isn't risking anything. Because even when she feels the loss, pride still protects her. She wants you back, but she wants to come back without paying for what she did. Reason 2. Your absence became more attractive than your effort. Effort can look like love in your head, but to someone who isn't choosing you, effort starts looking like need. And need lowers perceived value. It makes you feel easier to replace. It makes you feel like you'll still be there even if she's careless. Absence creates contrast. Contrast creates desire. When you disappear, her mind fills the gaps with imagination. And imagination is cruel because it can rewrite you into something bigger than you were allowed to be when you were constantly proving yourself. When you were around, she saw your anxiety, your urgency, your willingness to stay on the phone a little too long, your fast replies, your need to keep the vibe alive so it doesn't die. But when you're gone, all she can see is the outline of you, the parts that felt solid, the parts she couldn't control. Silence feels like strength when she expected you to chase. Your calm exit triggers curiosity more than your pleading ever did. Because pleading is predictable. It's safe. She knows what you'll do. A man who disappears without drama forces a different thought into her head. Maybe I misread him. Maybe he wasn't desperate. Maybe he has a life. Maybe he's not sitting around waiting for me. And that's the darker detail. She misses the version of you she couldn't control. Not the version of you who was always available. The version of you who seems like he can live without her. Because once she feels she can't reach you whenever she wants, your value rises in her mind, even if you didn't change at all. Reason 3. She tested you, then respected you. A lot of rejections aren't clean endings. They're tests. Sometimes she rejects to see if you'll collapse, to see if you'll beg, to see if you'll get angry, to see if you'll reveal what you really are when you don't get what you want. And most men fail that test without realizing it. They argue the rejection like it's a debate. They push for explanations. They demand closure. They send paragraphs trying to prove their worth. They think they're fighting for love, but what they're really doing is showing instability. If you handle no with calm, you signal confidence and self-control. Not fake coldness, real restraint. You show her you can take a hit without turning it into a scene. You show her you're not a man she can steer with guilt, or bait with attention, or control with uncertainty. Men who argue rejection look unsafe and desperate. They look like they'll punish honesty. They look like they'll cling. And a woman who senses that won't lean in. She'll keep distance. Even if she likes you, she'll keep distance. But when you don't chase, she reevaluates. Not because she suddenly became kind, because you just showed her you're not easy to manipulate. The test becomes attraction when you pass without bitterness, when you don't beg, when you don't insult her, when you don't try to force your way back in. The darker truth is uncomfortable. She wanted proof you wouldn't be easy. She wanted to see if your boundaries were real. And if they were, now she's curious. Because real boundaries are rare. This is the part nobody talks about. Sometimes she comes back because she misses the attention, not the commitment. Attention is an emotional drug, and if you were the man who consistently gave it, you became a supply. Not just of compliments, but of presence, of certainty, of feeling chosen. Commitment requires responsibility. Attention doesn't. Commitment means she has to show up. She has to be consistent. She has to make decisions that limit her options. Attention lets her feel wanted without choosing you back. So she comes back when her ego feels empty or unseen, when the new guy isn't as generous, when her phone gets quiet, when life hits her with a little loneliness and she remembers the man who made her feel safe without asking her to earn it. That's why the comeback messages can feel sweet and hollow at the same time. I've been thinking about you. I miss talking to you. I hope you're doing well. It sounds like care, but sometimes it's just hunger. Hunger for validation. Hunger for comfort. Hunger for the feeling you provided. And if you respond too fast, too warm, too available, she gets exactly what she wanted without having to risk anything. She'll test if your attention is still on tap. She'll take the warmth. She'll calm her ego. And then she'll drift again. Because she never came back for the life. She came back for the feeling. The darker truth. She returns for comfort, then leaves again, and you call it mixed signals, because it hurts less than calling it what it is. Here's the moment everything quietly changes. When her other options didn't feel the same. Options look exciting until they feel shallow. New men can impress, but they don't always feel emotionally familiar. And women compare energy more than they compare facts. They compare the way a man's presence sits in their body. She might meet someone better on paper, more status, more money, more charm, and still feel something missing. Because what you gave her might have been rare in a way she didn't appreciate until it was gone. Stability, warmth, a certain calm, a feeling of being understood without being owned. Sometimes she returns after being disappointed by the fantasy that someone else would be better, the fantasy that she could replace what you gave her with a quicker, shinier version. And when that collapses, memory starts changing. You start looking better in hindsight because the alternatives didn't deliver what she thought they would. But listen closely, because this is where men get trapped again. Her coming back after other options fail doesn't automatically mean you were the one. Sometimes it just means you were the safest place to land when the excitement didn't work out. And that leads into the next reason, the one that makes you feel powerful and bitter at the same time. Reason 4. She regretted the power move. Rejection can be used to regain control, to feel superior, to prove she has the upper hand, but power feels hollow when it costs real connection. Once you stop reacting, her power move loses purpose. There's no audience, no chase, no proof that she still has you. Regret appears when she realizes she misplayed the dynamic. She may come back to undo the image of being the villain. She may come back to soften the ending so she can feel like a good person again. She may come back because guilt is loud when you're not there begging her to stay. And if you didn't chase, she can't justify her decision as easily. Because your calm makes her question herself. Your calm makes her wonder if she rejected a man who actually had value, a man who didn't need her, a man who didn't crumble. Her pride fades when your absence stays calm and final. And the darker truth is brutal. She returns to repair her ego, not your heart. Now, you can hear all of this and think it's about her motives, her patterns, her confusion. But the real story, the one you keep living through, is happening inside you. Because when she comes back, something in you wakes up. The part of you that felt humiliated by the rejection suddenly feels redeemed. You feel chosen again, even if she hasn't chosen anything. You feel like the past got corrected, like the wound got erased. Here's the uncomfortable part. You start craving the comeback more than you craved the relationship. Not because you're broken, because rejection doesn't just hurt your feelings. It attacks your identity. It whispers that you weren't enough. And when she returns, it feels like that whisper finally shuts up. So you stop thinking clearly. You start responding like a man trying to secure a victory instead of a life. You start forgetting why it ended. You start ignoring the pattern. You start accepting crumbs because crumbs feel like proof. You tell yourself, she came back, so she must care. But a woman can come back for many reasons that have nothing to do with love. She can come back for attention, for comfort, for control, for closure, for guilt relief, for ego repair. And the only way you'll know is if you stop listening to your hope and start watching her behavior. Because your hope is not neutral. Your hope is hungry. Your hope wants to believe the best version because it means you don't have to face the worst possibility. That she didn't come back because she chose you. She came back because you were still reachable. And that's where the inward flip starts to sting. Because the real question isn't why she came back. The real question is why you still want her to. Why her return feels like a verdict on your worth. Why your chest loosens when you see her name like your life just got permission to continue. Reason 5. You moved on, and it triggered her ego. Seeing you happy without her feels like losing control of the narrative. Your moving on signals she wasn't as important as she assumed, and ego hates being replaced, even when she chose to leave. This is why her return can be timed perfectly. Not when you were depressed, not when you were begging, when you stop posting sad quotes, when you stop checking her stories, when your life looks like it's moving again. When you're laughing in a photo with people who don't know her. When you're finally quiet. She may return just to see if she still has access, not because she wants to rebuild, because she needs to confirm she can still pull you. That's the ugly part men don't like to admit. Sometimes she comes back as a power check, a test to make sure she still matters, a way to restore her internal balance by proving she can still affect you. And if you respond with hunger, she gets her answer. She still has you. She still controls the lever in your chest. She can press it and watch you change. That doesn't make her evil. It makes her human. People like to feel powerful where they once felt uncertain. This is the part nobody talks about. Your growth can make her question whether she misjudged you. It can make her curious. It can make her nostalgic. But it can also make her competitive. She may not want you the way she wants ownership of the memory of you. She may not want the relationship. She wants to feel like she could have it if she wanted it. Reason 6. She came back for closure, not love. Closure is often a polite mask for unresolved emotion. She returns to soothe guilt, not rebuild connection. She wants a clean ending so she can feel right about leaving, so she'll offer you a conversation that looks mature. Can we talk? I just wanted to clear the air. I didn't want things to end badly. And for you, it feels like a second chance, like she's finally opening up. But for her, it can be a cleanup job, a way to exit without the feeling of being the bad person. Sometimes she wants reassurance you're okay so she can move on without that weight. Sometimes she wants to check if you still want her because it comforts her ego. Sometimes she wants to regain emotional control of the story by being the one who ends it well. And if you're still attached, closure becomes another hook. You'll sit there telling her what you felt, hoping it lands, hoping she suddenly understands, hoping she apologizes. And even if she does, you'll realize it doesn't heal the core wound. Because the wound wasn't the lack of closure. The wound was the rejection. The wound was feeling replaceable. The wound was realizing your feelings didn't give you any leverage. The darker truth is cold. She comes back to finish the story on her terms. And if you let her, you'll feel temporary relief, then the same emptiness later. Because nothing actually changed. Here's the moment everything quietly changes. She wants what she can't control. Control kills desire, but losing control can awaken it. When you stop chasing, you become unpredictable again. You stop behaving like a man who will always be there, and that's when tension returns. If she can't read you, her mind stays stuck on you. Resistance creates tension, and tension keeps attraction alive. Not healthy attraction always. Sometimes it's just the mind obsessing over a door that won't open easily. So she may return to win what she couldn't secure before. Not because she suddenly realized you're her future, because the chase flips and her ego doesn't like losing. She wants to conquer the situation. She wants the reassurance that she could still have you if she decided to. That's why the return can feel intense and confusing. She might be warmer than you've seen her. She might flirt harder. She might act like the rejection never happened, because she's trying to pull you back into the old pattern where you give and she decides. But the second she feels control again, the energy fades, because what she wanted wasn't the relationship. It was the win. Reason 7. She returns when you stop being available. Availability makes you feel replaceable, even if you're a good man. When you're no longer accessible, your value rises in her mind. She feels the loss when she can't casually reach you anymore. She tests the door when she senses it's closing. A closed door triggers urgency more than an open one. If she can't get you back easily, she takes you more seriously. Not because you became better overnight, but because the dynamic changed. And here's the cruel twist. The same woman who rejected you when you were open may pursue you when you become scarce. Not because scarcity is magic, because scarcity forces her to confront consequence. It forces her to confront that she can't keep you on the shelf as a backup plan. Now, let's land this in something you don't want to hear. The question, why do women come back after rejecting you, is really you asking, does her return mean I mattered? And that's where men get trapped. They treat the return like proof, like redemption, like a second chance to rewrite the humiliation. But the return is not the proof. Behavior is the proof. This is the part nobody talks about. A woman can come back and still not choose you. Coming back is easy. Choosing you is costly. Choosing you means consistent effort, clear intention, real risk. Giving up the comfort of being half in, half out. And if she isn't doing that, then her return is not love. It's a loop. Here's the inward flip becoming final. If you take her back too fast, you're not accepting her. You're accepting the relief. You're taking the drug because you missed how it felt to be wanted. You're letting her return erase the standards you swore you'd keep the night you got rejected. And that's why you keep living the same story with different faces. Because you keep confusing attention with respect. You keep confusing nostalgia with commitment. You keep confusing a comeback with a choice. So what do you do when she comes back? You don't punish her. You don't beg. You don't hand her your heart like she never dropped it. You watch. You listen. You let time expose her motive. If she's back for comfort, she'll stay vague. If she's back for ego, she'll test control. If she's back for closure, she'll want a clean conversation and then disappear. If she's back to choose you, her actions will become steady, and she'll accept the reality of rebuilding, not just the feeling of being chased. And if her actions don't match, you leave. Quietly, cleanly, without the speech, because the cold realization is this. The reason she can come back after rejecting you is often because you left the door open with your need, your availability, your hope. You kept proving you'd still be there, so she returns when it benefits her, and you call it fate. But a man with standards doesn't live like that. He doesn't treat a woman's return as salvation. He treats it as information. And he decides based on what's real, not what feels good in the moment. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you in the next one.